Saxon? Yep. Philip? Yep.
What are you guys seeing tonight?
Not the bees!
Huh?
You're fond of me lobster, ain't ya?
That's inappropriate.
Usual, guys?
Ready? Double feature.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Tavern Talk. I am Philip, and joining me this week, Mr. Saxon Whitehead. Thank you for being here, sir.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Saxon runs a site called Dr. Popcorn. Great site, Banana Meter approved, I believe.
Yes, Banana Meter approved.
Yeah, so very excited to have you here, especially this week, because we're talking, I put both of these movies on my top 10 most anticipated of the year list. We're talking two movies, one review. It is The Northman and The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. So big original movie weekend.
Oh yeah.
And so we're going to start with The Northman. And so obviously we just walked out of this double feature. We were very well prepared for it. But yeah, so initial thoughts on Robert Eggers' The Northman.
Oh boy, what an intense experience.
Yeah.
Northman was. I've been looking forward to seeing this for a very, very long time. I was a huge fan of his past two movies, The Witch and The Lighthouse.
You're fond of me lobster, eh?
Yeah.
And this sees him working with just a bigger budget, a much grander scale, and boy, does he have a ball with it.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie is just... I don't even know how to talk about it. I'm just very...
So to kind of like, I liked The Witch, like a lot.
Right.
Like I was kind of, I built it up a lot the first time I saw it.
Right.
And then so I was kind of let down first viewing, repeat viewings. I was like, okay, I get it. The Lighthouse, it's definitely a an acquired taste, if you will.
You're fond of me lobster, eh?
I think Willem Dafoe's face was made to be like lit from underneath, and if you're into that, which I know is a really broad demographic, then you'll love The Lighthouse.
You're fond of me lobster.
But I was anxious to see, like you said, this is like not A24. This is a like Focus Features / Universal production. And I think it's like a $90 million budget.
90 million.
Yeah, and so this was him, and it's a full-on like Viking epic.
Yeah.
I mean, this is 2 hours and 20 minutes. It's like he throws it all at the wall and just goes for it. I mean, it's definitely his most straightforward movie, his most kind of like, in terms of story, you kind of hit those expected beats. Like it's very much Shakespeare inspired.
Thy father's spirit.
If you're, from a more recent generation, it's very Lion King.
I am thy father. Father?
Yeah.
But it definitely goes different places with those things that it sets up as far as the character dynamics, which is probably my favorite part about it, in that it went to places, not places that weren't necessarily unexpected, but just like very thematically rich places.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, I am 100% with you. I thought the characters were just so rich in this movie. I felt like Amleth, our protagonist, was very compelling, very exciting to watch his journey as he goes through this and how he interacts with all the various characters we meet. Anya Taylor-Joy's character, I like their relationship a lot.
Yeah.
I like the relationship with his mother, played by Nicole Kidman in this. Whew. Oh, man. I have a lot to say about Nicole Kidman. This might be one of my favorite performances from her. Honestly.
I was going to say, like, I feel like she's kind of been just like, she's been in a lot lately.
Oh, yeah.
But it just kind of like, I don't know. I felt like there hasn't been anything that's really excited her, maybe.
Right.
Like, she's kind of not been coasting because she's definitely played a variety of characters recently. Right. But this one, she's just like, yeah, she gets to dig her teeth into it and, like, really goes for it. And it's, I mean, like I said, it's an intense experience all over the place. But, like, she really amps that part up for her portion of it.
Absolutely, yeah. There's this one sequence which I won't spoil.
Yeah.
But all I will say is that there's this one long extended sequence where she's talking to Alexander Skarsgård's character, where it's basically this big long monologue where it's to me one of the big turns of the movie.
Yeah.
And just excellent acting on her part, and just the whole time I was just glued.
Yeah.
To what she was saying. I was hanging off her every word. Just fantastic.
Yeah, because you weren't sure where exactly she was going to go with it. It was great. We talked about how big of a budget this is as well, and just kind of this. I mean, Eggers has kind of found his home in these like farms and like very like rich like landscapes. Right. And I mean, you see the witch, it's a very similar like village type setting, or you see the lighthouse and like the big like the sea crashing against the rocks and like all this kind of stuff. So he's like kind of like made a not comfy, but like he's familiar with this terrain. But yeah, this is on a whole other like level as far as scale. And the kind of the thing that came to mind was like how Troy, when it was talking about like these gods, these Greek figures and everything, but it kind of put away all the mythical stuff and just like treated them as if it were like real, tangible humans and everything.
That's why no one will remember your name.
And he was like, no, I'm going to keep this like kind of mythical in a way. And that, so that like Norse mythology, I guess, is more like kind of in your face than I expected it to be, which is kind of like, I don't know, like I said, you can kind of get a feel for Eggers' tone, but like as far as like pinning down his like, not necessarily his style, but kind of like how he wants to tell a story, it's hard to like nail down what makes his direction so captivating, I guess.
Right.
Wanted to like just take a moment and appreciate Ethan Hawke as well. He, obviously if you've seen the trailer, doesn't have a whole lot of screen time here. But man, is that guy just like, again, just like super captivating.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he makes every moment of his time on screen just count.
Yeah.
And like he is just so good. Like from the moment he shows up, I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like Eggers kind of makes like one of those things he's like known for that's kind of been like pushed to the forefront in like the press and stuff is his the way he strives for authenticity in like every aspect of his production and everything, from the clothes down to the way teeth and fingernails and everything look.
Right.
And I feel like Ethan Hawke was like totally on board for that and was gonna like not only do the research but commit to it fully, and that's just very apparent. But you also mentioned Anya Taylor-Joy. I thought she was really strong in this.
Absolutely.
Because I wasn't sure when the movie started, and we kind of get a ways in before we meet her. I wasn't sure where her character was going to fit into this, what type of arc she was going to have, and I was just I was really impressed by her character and her performance here.
Yeah, I'm with you. Anya Taylor-Joy has been one of those actors who I've always enjoyed, but I've never been like a super fan of.
Right. Yes, exactly.
I'm just like, yeah, she's doing pretty good work. I'm really curious, and I've always been curious to see where her career is going. And I definitely think this is a high point. Yeah. For her, what her entrance, I guess, her introduction rather. Yeah. Into the movie. I was just like, okay, now I'm really curious to see where she goes from here, because I was like you, I had no idea where she fit in to all of this. I knew she was there, I just didn't know exactly where. And I think that her character is very fascinating, and like I mentioned earlier, her relationship with Alexander Skarsgård's character, I really enjoyed seeing that develop over the course of the movie.
It should be said this is very brutal.
Absolutely.
Lots of blood, like not for the faint of heart. You should know what you're getting into if you're going to go like pay for a ticket to see this movie. It's very much a, historical, fantastical kind of just bloody war epic in a way. It's not completely just nonstop battles or anything. There is very much that like we were saying, kind of that Shakespearean story element to it. But at the same time, it's very. I mean, not that Shakespeare didn't have its fair share of brutality, but. Yeah, it's very it doesn't shy away from the violence, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. So just
not.
Yeah.
And one of the things that really impresses me about Eggers, just like overall, like in all of his movies, is his attention to language. That's one thing that always really fascinates me, is how he's just so particular about how the characters speak. And in this one, I was really curious to see how he was going to pull that off, with this being, taking place way back when. And, he, like, someone asked him in an interview recently why the characters weren't speaking Icelandic or Norse or anything like that. And he just straight up said, it's like I kind of wanted the people to see this movie. Right. It's like if I was self-financing it, then sure, but, no. It's like I'm using studio money.
Right.
So, but even still, like, that language still felt very authentic to this world that he was showing us.
Yeah.
And, like, it was kind of, a little bit more older, fashion, but it being still easy to follow what they were saying. There's some lines in this movie that I thought were just very, like, ooh, I really like how that was, how they said that.
Yeah.
But, man, I just think that he is just really good with dialogue and getting that era-appropriate language within reason. I'll put it that way, within reason.
That's a great way, because honestly, like, I thought I considered that too, because it is, everything is stated in a way that does make you kind of sit up and pay attention a little bit more to make sure you are understanding what is being said, that you're interpreting it correctly or as it was intended. So yeah, that's definitely true. Like, I found myself kind of leaning forward a little bit to make sure, however these characters decided to, put a sentence together, whatever flowery language it might be, or words they decided to string together that I might not, do the same way. I made sure I was paying attention to it. And, I would have no idea if it was faithful to, like, the Icelandic language or anything like that. But no, I found it really intriguing. I found, don't want to talk about the like themes and plot points too heavily, so we don't spoil anything. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a lot about making choices. Talking about the lines that kind of hit home. There's one about choosing between protecting your kin or hating your enemies, and that's kind of one of those things that resonates throughout, as far as well as just kind of man's vicious circle of violence. I don't know. It's the one thing I'll say before we kind of get to star ratings on this is something this movie made me think was just like, it is amazing that, like, the human species has survived as long as it has.
Especially after watching this movie, where it's just constant violence. I say constant violence. A lot of violence.
It's heavy. It's really heavy. Yeah. So we'll leave it at that right there. But as far as the Northman, out of a 5-star rating, obviously, again, this is coming right out of the movie, so this is an initial reaction rating. What would you give Northman?
Honestly, I'm feeling pretty high on this movie.
Yeah.
I honestly think I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Nice.
I think this is just a pure, like, just from the technical side alone, just the things that Eggers is able to pull off. And I didn't even get a chance to shout out Jaron Blaschke, his cinematographer, who he's worked with on The Witch and The Lighthouse, is doing tremendous work here. This movie looks phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into this type of movie, absolutely see this on the big screen. Visually, it's just really impressive and really engulfing, and I really enjoyed it as well. It's a solid 4-star movie for me. That's what I'm gonna go with right now. It's it really just, I don't know, I want to see it again, but also I don't.
Yeah.
At the same, like, it's so brutal and so intense, like, I'm afraid to, like, go through that experience again, almost, especially, like, immediately right now. But at the same time, like, it is so thematically rich. I do want to see it again and kind of see what other ideas he's playing with in there that I maybe didn't pick up on the first time. But yeah, so 4.5 for Saxon, 4 for me on the Northman. And let's take a break right there, and then we'll do something a little lighter. Okay, so on to a little bit of lighter fare here. Let's talk about the unbearable weight of massive talent. Obviously, this is about Nick Cage, starring Nick Cage. It's really just a movie only Nick Cage could make. But is there a better way? What's the best way you would explain this if somebody walked up and said, hey, what's that massive talent movie about? What would you say?
Oh boy, man, where do you even begin? I mean, you can describe this as a therapy session. You can describe this as Nick Cage's midlife crisis movie. You can describe this as him just reckoning with his fame and his persona and how people see him. This movie is just pure, unadulterated Nick Cage. I think it's the best way to describe it.
I mean, the best thing is, like, every single thing you just said is true. It fully applies. I was very excited to see this. I always love, like, when Hollywood kind of examines itself.
Here we go again.
I mean, I know Hollywood loves to talk about Hollywood, but as someone who is a fan of the movies, like, I love to see kind of this, like, behind the scenes stuff, or somebody, like, playing up their persona or making fun of their persona, or just, like, even just a peek behind the curtain, which, again, this kind of contains all of those elements in some form or fashion. But maybe, like, the best thing about this is that the movie understands that we, if we're coming to see this, we understand as well fully what it's doing, what it's trying to do, what it's trying to accomplish. Like, we know that that Nick Cage hasn't, been like his 90s movie star self in a while, that he's kind of fallen into that red box,
Not the beast! Not the beast!
$5 Walmart bin type, space. And it's like, but then, the last couple of years, you've got Mandy. You've got Pig. When you have that baggage as a viewer going into it, this is almost that much more rewarding. But at the same time, I think your casual viewer who may be just a fan of Con Air,
I'm gonna say the day.
or Face Off, or Captain Corelli's Mandolin,
I'm Captain Antonio Corelli.
or The Croods too.
It's something amazing to behold watching him work.
We'll enjoy this as well.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
And don't forget guarding Tess.
They're on special today, 2 for $59.
Oh, do not. No, I just love how honest it is with itself almost. But again, like, we just saw this one actually. Like, this was the second movie of the night. So we just walked out of this. Kind of what was your initial reaction to this whole thing?
I was just really impressed with how much this movie both pokes fun at, but also is just very much so a loving tribute to Nick Cage. And it really covers all of the different personas we've kind of seen from him over the years. We get the 90s, the action star era. We get a kind of what a lot of people kind of think of him now as, more of the, direct to DVD Nick Cage. We get kind of more of the introspective Cage that we've been seeing lately. And so we see all these different ways. We get the meme Cage even, kind of the way most people are probably going into this movie thinking that it's like, okay, this is all going to be really goofy.
Right.
And it is. But also,
Yeah.
you get all these other versions of Cage. And as someone who really likes Nick Cage, and really, I grew up watching, quite a few of his movies.
Right.
This is definitely a very rewarding experience for me. And getting to see Nick Cage being so game to take on all of this and to really, engage with his career and what he's kind of become over the years, I think is really, I don't want to say brave necessarily, but it's just really admirable, I guess.
Well, no, I think, I think he's the only actor that might be willing to do something like this.
Absolutely.
Because it is so, like, both, like, honest with himself about where he's at in his career, where he's been recently, that the glory days might be, as far behind him as he thinks they are. I'm just like, as fascinating as this was, and as much of a kind of like introspective look at his career and kind of processing everything and trying to understand where his place in the world is now, or in pop culture is now. I kind of almost I look forward to the bonus features and behind the scenes stuff on this just as much, because you read stories about Nicolas Cage being like he's portrayed in this movie, and you wonder how they communicated what they wanted to get out of him in this, but he seems to be so self-aware and completely understand exactly what he this. Mild spoilers, I guess, but this movie opens with a conversation between him and David Gordon Green and about, talking about a project they might collaborate on. And it makes it clear that David Gordon Green did not like the direction Nick Cage was going to take his movie, and was like, no, dude, I'm out of here. And for Nick Cage to be willing to put that on screen while playing himself, it's just is I don't know. It's a little surprising. It's very humbling. I don't know. I guess I was just ultimately surprised with how honest the movie was, not just with us, but with itself.
Right. No, I'm with you, because if you see the trailers and any of the promotional stuff, you probably are thinking this is all going to be just laughs.
Right.
It's all going to be just really goofy and silly. And when we get those moments, there are these moments where it really gets honest with itself, and where Nick Cage is getting honest with his career and his persona and his I think the movie described it as nouveau shamanic.
Nouveau shamanic, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Acting style.
Right.
And how that can be a lot for a lot of people.
It's kind of sweet, really, which is surprising. I didn't really expect that coming into this. But I do want to reiterate that it is very funny. I laughed a lot during this, and I want to definitely mention Pedro Pascal. I haven't seen The Bubble yet. I know you reviewed it and weren't a fan.
Yeah.
But Pedro Pascal seems to be very game for these kind of just ridiculous kind of meta type stories or movies, and he was. I don't know. I thought he was great. You've got Ike Barinholtz and Tiffany Haddish in kind of some small supporting roles. Forgive me, I don't know the lady's name that plays his wife. I can't recall.
Sharon Horgan.
Yeah, and she was in Game Night, right?
Yes, she was.
Yeah, and she was. And she does great here.
Yeah.
Too. I was glad to see her get some work, because just a big Game Night fan.
How is that the Green Mile?
And directed by a guy named Tom Gormican. Has he done anything previously?
I think he also directed the movie That Awkward Moment with Zac Efron.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because I didn't think he directed anything, and I was looking into him, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I remember looking up who they got to make this movie earlier, when it was first announced and everything, and I remember not recognizing that. But yeah, it doesn't try to break the rules or do anything, crazy, which this premise very well could have. They could have gone for some.
They could have gone off the rails.
Yeah, exactly. But he kind of sticks to his guns, knows the strengths of just letting the camera focus on Cage and Pascal, and just letting them kind of run with it. Which, either way could have been really successful. But I thought this was just a solid, just a really funny comedy, which is also refreshing, because we don't get a whole lot of big mainstream broad comedies anymore either.
Absolutely. I've definitely been a huge proponent of we need more studio comedies. We haven't really had a whole lot of them in the past several years.
Right.
And this is definitely a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, no, and especially kind of not necessarily palate cleanser, but definitely a bit of a relief after something like The Northman too.
Oh yeah.
So it was definitely an interesting night of movie going. We need to do a star rating for Massive Talent. What would your initial reaction be as far as star rating to this one?
I'm kind of teetering between a 3.5 and a 4.
Yeah.
I'm kind of leaning a little bit 4, just because I think that this movie does a lot of interesting things beyond your average, comedy.
Right. Yeah.
And I think Nick Cage is fantastic, obviously. To kind of second what you were saying earlier about Pedro Pascal, I think he's just proven himself to just really throw himself into whatever project he does and he does a great job.
Yeah.
In this one, just like he does in just about everything I've seen him in.
Yeah.
So really liked them, and I just really liked how this movie really engaged with the Nick Cage persona.
Yeah.
Not the beast!
I mean, yeah, should definitely like clarify. Nick Cage is great at this.
Oh yeah.
He's having so much fun, but he's also legitimately like good at doing what he's done for however many years now. So yeah, I mean, if it makes you feel any better, I'm gonna go 4 as well. And I know it's like, oh, you gave Northman and this 4, completely different movies.
Yeah.
4 stars for completely different reasons, but they both very much accomplish at a high level exactly what they were intending to do. So yeah, it was a solid 4-star all the way around movie night for me.
With massive talent, I'm really curious to see how other audience members will take this, because kind of like what you were saying earlier, I feel like for people like us who are very familiar with Nick Cage's career and will get the jokes about Captain Corelli or Guarding Tess,
Right.
I think for a lot of people who might be going to see this for more of just it's the Nick Cage movie, this is going to be funny, I don't know if they're going to have the same experience.
Right.
So I'm really curious to see what people think.
I am too. Yeah, I am very, very curious to see how this does financially. How it does. I mean, it's getting seemingly really positive reviews with critics, so it'll be interesting to see the cinema score and kind of how this lands with audiences. But yeah, it's Nick Cage playing Nick Cage. Can't go too wrong there. And Robert Eggers getting to work on a bigger scale than he ever has before. So 2 really, highly original, really well done, very different movies in the theaters this weekend. So definitely check them out if you have an interest in either of those. Thank you again, Saxon, for joining me. I really, really appreciate you doing this, especially with a double feature like this. So thank you so much.
Absolutely, I had an amazing time. Great night at the movies.
Yeah, 100% agree. And thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. That always helps. So appreciate you guys doing that, and hope you're enjoying it. Enjoying the content. We try to upload a new review of the biggest release every week, so look for that, and if you turn on that notification bell, you'll definitely get a notification when that happens. Also want to say thank you to the Movie Tavern. They let us see both movies here tonight. We get to shoot the show in their theater, so thank you to the Movie Tavern. If you have one near you, venture out, see The Northman, see Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, or The Good Guys. That also opens this weekend, and I've heard good things about that, so a lot of good stuff at the theaters right now. Go check it out. And until next time, that's it. We'll see you. Peace.